All right, how's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Yeah, as the title suggests, I'm basically trying to read the Bible every day until I get passionate again. And I've been pretty bad, inconsistent, and just I'm lacking. So, if you're watching this, dude, please put me on. I need help. I need accountability. I need people to call me out. Anyways, we're on day 5, episode 5, and this one is titled The Telephone Game. Discipline your children, and they will give you peace of mind and will make your heart glad. That's Proverbs chapter 29, verse 17. And basically, the learning lesson is this: remember the game you played in school where everybody formed a line and the teacher whispered a message into the first person's ear? As the message was passed along, it usually got messed up and gargled before it reached the last person. Yeah, I think every single one of us that grew up in the United States, we played that game, and dude, I was such a troublemaker. Like, let's say the word is a banana, I would literally just fumble it up on purpose and say the word was a cupcake. Like, that's the kind of kid that I was. Looking back, I guess it's kind of funny, but man, I just ruined it for everyone else because sometimes it would be like a competition, right? It'd be like groups of like five, with 4 kids each, and the one that got it right or was the most accurate, you'd be the winners, and I would just intentionally mess it up for fun. Looking back, dude, why was I like that? I don't know. That same thing is true today with kids and cell phones. The message is getting garbled. Trends show that parents are buying their children cell phones at younger and younger ages. However, many parents aren't united in how to handle the challenges that a cell phone brings into their home. As parents, it's our responsibility to establish boundaries. When our children hit different milestones, first cell phone, first date, getting a driver's license, we should already have a plan worked out about the rules. Some parents even come up with a contract that everybody signs before allowing their children certain privileges, such as a cell phone. The Bible tells us to discipline your children, and they will bring you peace of mind and will make your heart glad. Proverbs 29:17. Discipline, whether in the sense of punishment or in a careful, deliberate approach to a situation, brings stability. Our children need to know where the boundaries are and what the consequences will be for stepping over the line. Make sure your children get the message loud and clear, not like kids at the end of the line in the telephone game. And I think, I'm spitballing here, okay? I don't even know if you have a kid, if you're watching this, but like, one thing that I understand about adolescent psychology is that they crave structure, schedule, and routine, like knowing what to expect next. I think in a world of doing whatever the child wants to do and letting them roam in that universe, it ultimately ends up with chaos, right? Because they don't know what's going to happen next and they don't know how to behave. Like when it's time to do this, this is the way we do it, right? When it's time to eat, we sit here and we do it like this, etc. But if it's like all hands are off and you let them do whatever you want them to do, you feel like you're giving them freedom and independence, but I think in a way you also allow them to express themselves in chaos. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. And the bottom line, it says this: having discipline in your home brings peace of mind for you and your child. Are there areas where you need to provide better boundaries? And my own takeaways, the notes that I wrote: avoiding discipline feels kind in the moment, but wisdom says it actually robs us of peace later. And I don't know, for a lack of better words, I always refer to it as nipping in the butt, right? I think there are certain actions and behaviors where if you turn a blind eye towards, like, eventually it becomes a habit and they'll continuously and consistently do whatever it is because they were never corrected in the first place. But I feel like there's levels to it. I feel like if you're really harsh and you yell or you do something as bad as hitting them the first round of them making a mistake, I feel like that's too harsh. I feel like the first time, I think it's like you should use some gentle parenting and teach them, like, hey, why did you do that? Do you think it was appropriate to do that? Like, walk me through your thought process, right? Like, that's what basically you're trying to do. But it depends. Like, if they're having an emotional meltdown, no, your adult logic is not going to work with someone whose brain is only 3 years old or 4 years old or like 7 years old, right? So if they're like screaming and throwing a tantrum, obviously takes uh, a different approach. Gentle parenting will not work, but yeah, if it's like the second, third, fourth, or maybe even like the 10th offense, then yeah, I guess it requires a different tone. Maybe you got to be more stern, a little bit more stoic, like just it's straight up a business transaction, right? It's not one of those things where it's like you cave in or you meet them in the middle. No, like if you do this, you take the fun away. You take it away. Uh, Dude, I don't even know what I'm saying. The second thing that I wrote is discipline rooted in love leads to peace. And I think that makes a lot of sense because if you discipline out of hate, out of frustration, or because you're annoyed by them or because you're embarrassed by them, I think you could do too much on the punishment end. Like you could say stuff and do stuff that you will regret later. But if it's always rooted in love, like I don't want to take your phone away from you or put you in timeout or put your toy or like taking the toys away from them, preventing them from playing with it. Like I don't want to do that, but I need to do it right now because you went over the line. Like you're out of the way that you're behaving is unacceptable. Like, I don't know. Does that make sense? But I think it's also teaching them acceptable behaviors in society, but also once they join the workforce, like there's certain stuff that you can't do in a workplace, right? You know, likewise, in different circumstances and environments, there are different ways to behave and act. So I don't know. I think this one is kind of, it's not really a heavy hitter for me, but I guess it's a good lesson that discipline is good for everybody, regardless of age. I think discipline is what allows us to truly self love. Because without discipline and just doing whatever we want, drinking whenever we want, eating junk food whenever we want, sleeping around with whoever we want, I think that leads to a life of destruction, chaos, and ultimately emptiness. But if you have some discipline and you're strict and you stick to, you follow through on what you said you were going to do, I think that ultimately leads to a life that's more fulfilling. Maybe an unpopular opinion, but that's what I think of when I think of self love, right? So, yeah. Anyways, I'll talk to you guys next time.